Alright, sorry about that. Let's try this again. Let's start off with the dollar. I was trying to get to the dollar. So a nice little bottom breakout here. Broke out, came back into support. It's a weekly chart. And I got a reverse head and shoulders on this here. So what I'm looking for really is a sling back, coming back to the line or support to complete the right shoulder. So when we look at the daily, I've got the start coming in. I got the double top. I got a 2-bar reversal over the 34 into the 34, and then another push, and then another outside day. Bounce in, rejected, and then in over the 8 into the 13, and I'm looking for another drop. And if this is going to complete a right shoulder on the weekly, you can see the weekly churning over the 8 over the 13 momentum wise. So on the daily, we definitely have a 2-bar reversal, but a momentum cross, so maybe a bearish retrace into resistance, and then a turnover. Follow the bouncing ball. Looking for a right shoulder to complete. So far we have support on the daily. So this could take forever. It's not going to happen tomorrow. One of these days I would look for one of those shakeout moves to complete the right shoulder, but right now it's just kind of meandering into the 813, into the 813. See if it wants to do that little thing. S&P. I got a 2-bar reversal at the bottom over the 8 into the 13, bounce, and then a little hesitate. We're coming into previous lows, so S&P, I'm looking for some kind of a opposing point so that we can find trend. Where's the trend? Not sure yet. But that being said, on the weekly, I've got the double top. I've got the cross over the 34 into the 34, bearish retrace, and then the drop off. So we have a nice bounce, but we are coming into previous lows on that bounce. So I'm looking for some kind of rejection. If this wants to keep going on the original trend, I find that pretty hard to attain, as the 8 and 13 momentum-wise is crossed over the 34. So I'm looking for some kind of rejection off the 8 or the 13 coming in. If it wants to and wants to continue the trend, I need it back above, and it definitely has to eventually, within a fairly, quick timeline, to surpass the double top. So I'm looking for a bearish trend already started and a continuation of that trend. Dow Jones, same thing. I got the double top, the cross, bearish retrace, rejected. I got the bearish retrace flag into the 8 and maybe a rejection, as the 8 and 13 over momentum dropping off the map. The VIX. Let's look at the daily on the VIX. We were talking about this yesterday, and we will continue to talk about it until it breaks down, but maybe a bounce from here. Nice J curve, maybe a whipsaw J curve, maybe. It's on the up and up, but eventually that trend is going to have to break down, because it's in this It's always been in this little tight range. You know, it always busts out, and then the volatility index heats up, heats up, heats up, heats up. So now we're at the low volatility range. Is it going to break down and go lower? Or are we going to get that J curve pop and a little volatility as the S&P and the Dow fall over? Maybe. NASDAQ, same thing. Daily chart, double top, rejected into the 8, rejected into the 8, over the 8, into the 34, and then rejected. Try to do a reverse head and shoulders there. You see it. Got rejected, and then maybe another reverse and then rejected. 2-bar reversal. I got a little kicker there. Closed down and then opened in and then busted through. So nice little 3-bar pattern down here. So maybe a turn of events. I'm looking at this candle here. I'm looking for maybe a retrace back into support from a falling star standpoint. So we went into the 8, over the 8, into the 13, back in, pumped it, over the 34, consolidating, had a little blip, and then pop. We're into previous lows here above the 34. Not sure if it's ready. I'm looking for an opposing point to set trend if we are going to get that higher low. Weekly charts over the 8, so we're showing a little bit of support, like I said, that 34 on the weekly, the 8 on the daily, so we're showing a little support, maybe rejection into previous lows. Let's find out. So far so good. I'm looking for an opposing point, a higher low maybe to continue, but I wouldn't put it past them to just take this thing because trend has changed. Long-term trend has changed. If this trend is going to continue on, it needs to get above previous highs. Right? It needs to do that in a timely fashion, or momentum is going to drop off. And honestly, momentum has already dropped off. So continuing on, Apple. I'm looking for a bounce on Apple. As we go sideways here. Looking for a previous high breaks into previous lows. The 8 is coming in, 34 is coming in on the daily, into previous lows. So the magic of the 34, the 8, between time frames, always magically, the T3s, always magically following previous support and resistance lines. So that's why I always say follow the bouncing ball. It goes into the 8 resistance, over the 8, into the 13 resistance, back into the 8 for support, and then dropped off. Into the 8, over the 13, nice push. Well, on this one, we do have a cross. So I've got the 8 above the 13, and I got that 4 pushing down. So I'm looking for some kind of back and forth. For a price pinch. The support and resistance gets tighter and tighter and tighter. Google, I'm looking for a bottom on this. It busted through previous lows. It rode up the range, came down, and now it's in that range. I'm looking for a previous high break into previous lows, over previous highs, and maybe a pop. Nice J curve, kind of, sideways action, consolidation here. Watch for the pattern break. Also, left shoulder head, right shoulder. You can see the step into support. Is that done yet? I don't know. Maybe it could come down for another shakeout. And as you well know, when patterns break, things get really volatile. So let's take a look at that weekly. Like everything else, we Interesting. I didn't see this before. I got a left shoulder, head, right shoulder, maybe a head and shoulders top. So maybe a pump back up for a lower high, and then a head and shoulders top, and then the neckline breakdown. Maybe. Google is on the hot seat. If you guys don't know, I hear about perjury charges. Perjury charges. Remember when the head of Google testified? He was under oath. And talk about swaying elections. It wasn't the Russians. Yeah, we all know that. Okay, so Nikkei, that's just a rumor, by the way. Google and a little, which, you know, they're censoring, they're swaying elections, they're apparently evidence has shown that maybe 4 to 5 million votes swayed from Google's campaign and censorship. Imagine that. Double top, bearish retrace. Watch for this flag into resistance and maybe a rejection. That's a pretty steep incline. Remember I used to talk about the steeper the incline, the more likely the breakdown. That's a pretty steep incline. I imagine it's going to come down sooner or later. So I've already got a double top. I got the breakdown into resistance, breakdown into resistance, shake it out. That's the Nikkei. US dollar, Japanese yen. Well, I got a little shakeout there, didn't I? A little whipsaw action. Let's see if that holds. Right, yeah, we got a whipsaw into the 8, over the 8, into the 8, bounce into the 8. Let's see how the resistance support lines get all pinched in here. Pop. So I'm looking for it's at previous highs. Maybe get into the meeting line there between the low and the high. A little meeting line. That's a very strong support resistance line, the meeting line. So maybe a pop into the resistance and maybe an opposing point to establish the trend. But nice whipsaw. So evidence 1, the J curve, momentum 2, the pop above resistance into previous lows 3. 4 would be coming down into support. So a little whipsaw on that support line. It's got to hold though. Anything could happen. Looks like I got a whipsaw on light crude as well. Look at the double top and the shake out. All the way back into support for the neckline support from the previous left head, right shoulder breakout. These reverse head and shoulders tops, these are very common. Look for individual candles. That's a nice falling star into support, magically enough. Left shoulder head, nice 3-bar pattern, morning star. Not morning star, but just a 3-bar pattern. Bullish pattern. Candle setup. I got over the 8, into the 8. Maybe into the 13. Let's establish some trend. And if that is a reversal, expect higher prices. I've got natural gas, got the pump and the setback, bullish retrace, hard and fast, and then the bounce into resistance. So what is it doing? It's going to find a trend after the breakout. Nice double bottom. Boom. It's pretty volatile after that breakout. Really volatile. It could go for another couple months as the winter. People need their natural gas. Isn't that true about natural gas? It runs during the winter. Get some steel. I figured steel would be doing a lot better, but I guess it needs to be low to set up manufacturing, right? I got a 3-bar pattern into resistance, and it looks like it's settling just above the 8. So that's a weekly. It very well could hang 10 up here and go sideways for a minute as the 8 crosses over. But I'm guessing it's going to come down and slap the 13 or even come down into the gap. But nice 2-bar pattern sideways, busted, but oh. I do have a hanging man here. Or it could be a hammer because it's above the 8. If we get above the hammer, we have support. Right now, it's just it's above the 8 and below resistance. Really, I imagine an opposing point. I'm always for the opposing point to establish trend. So fall to the 13. That's how I see. Uranium futures, we're just going to have to stick with the long-term chart because there are way too many gaps on the daily. So we busted into previous lows and we churned up that ominous falling star. So what do I say? Crossing over already. I'm guessing a fall into support somehow. I don't even. Is this just did this move from yesterday? Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Should I be using a different uranium futures contract? I'll check on that tomorrow and make sure, because that looks like the same as yesterday. Whatever. Bitcoin. I still think that we're coming into a bottom on Bitcoin. I think the reverse head and shoulders on the daily is coming to complete here soon. And nice sling back on the right shoulder. A little U-turn here. Let's see if we can't get a bust and then a pump. Same as that oil. That oil contract. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Boom. Gold. Is it falling over yet? No, it's not. It's still hanging. If it goes sideways for a while, consolidates, does its thing, keeps momentum, it's above the 8, closing above the 8. Good job, gold. Good job, good job, good job. We can see a continuation, right? Oh, let's not do that. So, I'm still in the show for some kind of opposing point after the nice rise, but it doesn't want to do that. Look, it looks like it's gonna break out. Look at the inverted hammer over support. Wow. Go get him, gold. Maybe we can get another pump. We are in previous lows, resistance. I would say the next previous lows is in the 1300 range. If it breaks in the previous lows, all the way to 1370. But I'm always looking for that retrace because of But, you know, it looks good. I mean, it needs to establish trend. If it gets too steep, it always comes back. And it just looks like it just ran pretty good. I mean, it ran really nice. And we're at resistance. But I got previous highs over here. If it breaks in the previous lows, we can run the 1370. That'd be nice. No problem, no problem. Silver, on the other hand, I got a lot of wicks pointing up. See all the wicks pointing up? Trade opposite. And look how far away silver is. It ran a little more parabolic than gold did. So, no worries if it comes back into support, but it hasn't started yet. It could do the same thing. It's got that inverted hammer, maybe a falling star into support. But I'm seeing a lot of wicks pointing up. That's exhaustion, exhaustion, exhaustion. And then the cross. It's closing below the 8, now the 13. Anything could happen because of previous lows at 1550. Anything below 1550, I would say a drop, drop, drop into support. Boom, 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 boom. All right, gold-silver ratio. I would love to see this thing break out above 86. That would be sweet. And on a long-term chart, let's just look at the long-term chart. See all the tops at 80, 82, 83? It ran to 86. So there's the tops. It broke the top, so now it's coming back into support. So you know how it goes. It breaks, comes back in for a bullish retrace. That's a bullish retracement. Is this thing going to run to 100? Whoa. 100 ounces per 1 ounce of gold. I'm not digging the this bearish flag look. So maybe another retrace, and then a left shoulder head, right shoulder, and then complete. I'm not sure. But that would be very interesting. Otherwise, I'm bearish on it because of the high. And the breakdown could be a whipsaw, right? A whipsaw on the downside. Copper. You have a low coming in, left shoulder head, right shoulder, 3-bar pattern at the head, typical, just a reversal pattern, maybe a pop into resistance again, build, build, build. It's showing some support, it's showing some gusto, and let's see what happens. Nice pattern, right? 3-bar pattern. Over the 8, into the 13, back into the 8 over the 13. Watch for a previous high break. Boom. Follow the bouncing ball. Alright, GDX, like we said, it looks like an opposing point. Needs to come in after the long rise. I got a crossover. Let's see if it'll hang 10 above the 34 where support lies. If it goes below the 34, it could drop into the range. And I'm looking for an opposing point anyways. Fall back to its natural course of return. GDXJ, the juniors. Double top, right? It's closing below the 8 and the 13. Watch for a bearish retrace back into the 13 as the 8 crosses the 30 as the 13. A retrace back into the 13 as the 8 crosses, like a bearish retrace. Nothing wrong with that. It's got to work the bottom, work the bottom, work the bottom. Nice W. Nice W. Come back into support, build it. Start cracking the whip. So giddy up. Anything can happen. I mean, it's a nice W. Does it need to retrace? No. It's a very nice W pattern. Very bullish. Boom. Maybe just a quick pop across resistance. That little balance point downtrend. My best guess is coming back into support, gather its legs, and then pop. JNUG. Coming back into support. Imagine that. Nice W. Boom. I mean, you got the left shoulder and maybe a W head and then a right shoulder and then the cross. Boom. Back in. I'm looking for a retrace, but you know, it's a bottom pattern. I mean, longer term, I mean, you can see the W. I'm looking for a retrace. I mean, the 8 has to come up and meet price. It's a little overextended on the weekly. I'm just you know, best guess scenario. Nothing wrong with a retrace. It's a bullish retrace. Same on Nugget. Come down into trend, establish something. Something's got to give. Little AG. Just to shake out. Imagine this on gold and silver, how it's done this. I think this is just taking the lead. I got support, previous lows over here. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. See that sling back? Whoosh. So this is just coming back into support. Bullish retracing. And that long... you know how I say a lot of analysts say that this is a cup and handle. I heard another one yesterday say the same thing. This is like an echo chamber, but I see left shoulder, head, right shoulder, and then it's long right shoulder. I mean, it's just a long right shoulder. But that's just me. These are typical, I mean, no doubt, cup and handle, no doubt. But I'm just saying, they're forgetting the left shoulder. Anyways, I think that's it. Practically, USLV, a little overextended on the weekly, maybe come back into support. You got silver 3 times long, and then Hecla Mining busted a move, came back into support. So that's a bullish over the 34 bullish retrace. Big difference than the bearish retrace. NAK, I gotta say that it looks bullish. See how it broke the balance point? Boom. Gapped over. Came in to fill the gap. 2 bar. Right over 8. Into the 13 over. Back into the 8. Made that splash. And then it made a little pop, didn't it? Today. Pop. Came in. Another bullish retrace. It looks bullish. Looks bullish. Look for the 80 snap. 80 snap will get you $1. And that'd be it. I appreciate you guys. Let me know what's going on out there. Gotta upload these videos to the other platforms. And pleasure.